Welcome to Coffee with Democrats, a sensible platform for progressive conversations. Coffee with Democrats is a grassroots movement dedicated to hearing from Democrats, candidates, legislators, and friends from all political backgrounds who want great conversations. Coffee with Democrats is committed to increase Democrat voter registration and Democrat voter turnout by making voting more exciting and meaningful. And now here's your host of Coffee with Democrats, Kevin Dawson.
Good afternoon. This is kind of an unusual time and day for us to be doing a Zoom Coffee with Democrats, but we have a special guest today, and we're working around some scheduling conflicts, and it worked out better for us to be able to do this today. But we are with Representative Jacob Rosecrants. He was elected out of his classroom to the Oklahoma House of Representatives in 2017. Before that, he taught social studies at the middle and high school level in inner city schools. This experience gave Jacob a unique perspective into many of the issues and trauma facing children today and drove him to take action. It is his passion to do all he can to help children through positive advocacy and common sense bipartisan legislation. Jacob is a resident of Norman for over 30 years. And I want to say just a little bit over 30 years, and is a proud product of Norman Public Schools and the University of Oklahoma. He is a father of two children, Spencer and Jonah, and he raises those two children along with his partner, Robin, who is also a really good friend of mine and somebody that I greatly enjoy spending time with. So welcome, Jacob, to Coffee with Democrats. As always, it's a great pleasure to see you and be with you and spend time with you. It's every single time that I spend time with you, I always gain a great deal of information, knowledge. I mean, you are so gracious to impart everything that you know and help however you can. So welcome to Coffee with Democrats today.
Why, thank you so much. And thanks for the kind words. It's actually really neat to be able to represent you. I mean,
yes,
getting to know you. I didn't know you before you reached out to me, so I appreciate that. And it shows that you have some passion as well. And we need passionate people to change things, especially when it comes to Democrats in general.
So it was August, I believe it was August of 2022 when we first met. I came down to, what's the name of that your favorite place that you go to?
Oh, I have a few of them, but that one was Beanstalk.
Okay, and we met there for the very first time.
No, it was all about Cha. All about
Cha, that's it.
Everybody knows that that's where my first place is. Beanstalk's excellent as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of excellent places here. And to give some perspective, Norman is very open to democratic causes. So we're welcome just about any place we want to go here in Norman. And that's one of the great things about Norman is that the bipartisanship and the great people here, they don't try to shut anything out or shut anybody out. It's a great place to live. So I'll say this, I'm blessed to live here. I only moved here in 2020, moved here from Wichita, Kansas. But this is where I'm going to reside for the rest of my life. So this is a great opportunity for me to get to know you. And it wasn't by chance that we ran across one another. I sought you out. I saw that you had a Twitter notice saying you were going to be down at the Cha, and if you wanted to meet you, come on down. And one of the great things about Jacob Rosecrants that I'm going to say to everybody out here is Jacob won't turn you away. Jacob's going to sit down and talk to you. And no matter what kind of background you have, your political background, it doesn't matter. He's going to have a conversation with you. And the great thing about Jacob is he listens. He spends a lot of time listening to his constituents, both Republican, independent, nonpartisan, Democrat. It doesn't matter. He spends time with his constituents throughout all of House District 46. So he's a great asset. We are going to be on board with your reelection campaign as you get it geared up, and we're going to do everything we can to support that. In the meantime, I'm still trying. The last time we talked, I said that I wanted to have a barbecue. I still haven't done that yet. I've got to get off my butt and get things going. So it's going to be a great time for us to be able to spend giving recognition to you and your fellow Democrats who work at the House and also in the Senate, your colleagues, and really bring everybody out to our place and give some recognition for the hard work and dedication that you guys do for the people of Oklahoma. And that I'll say that as that because that's exactly what you guys do. You don't try to just work on one side of the aisle with a very pinpoint group of people. You really work for everyone. So thanks so much for coming on Coffee with Democrats again. And I do have several questions. We're going to go along with, just topics that are in the news right now. One of the topics is, and I think it's weighing very heavily on a lot of people's mind, is what's going on over in Israel. It's a very sad state of affairs. There's a lot of stuff that we still don't know, that we're still trying to work our way through. But I wanted to get your take on that current event.
Yeah, well, first of all, what people in this day and age, you see something on social media, and people take it to be truth. We have to be really careful about that because media is actually kind of biased either way.
Right.
And us that are in the history world, as former history teacher, world history major guy, understand that what's going on out there has gone on for time immemorial. Now, first of all, too, some of the facts. It was a surprise attack,
Right.
and it's well coordinated. And this was a terrorist attack. This was not Palestine invading Israel, as some people are trying to say. It's Palestine versus Israel. That's not the case. Palestinian folks, it's not just one big, you can't paint with a broad brush.
Right.
This was a terrorist group funded by people that do not want to see Israel exist.
Right.
And that's the first thing you need to know. That there are innocent people in Palestine and innocent people dying in Palestine and innocent people in Israel that were targeted. So I would say this is closer to, and you've heard some folks say this, like to 9/11. It was kind of an actual terrorist attack, not an invasion of a country or anything like that. And if you know anything about terrorism, it's meant to scare, it's meant to freak people out and to provoke an action. Now, I don't know why they would want the action to be to make Israel angry, because let's be honest, besides the United States, I think they have one of the most technologically advanced military systems in the world.
Right.
So, and you're seeing that play out with some of the not just rocket attacks, but I'm talking targeted attacks. So, but again, I'm getting all my information from just sources, within
Right.
maybe it's the news media or whatever else. And you just got to be careful from what you take in as fact. Fact is there was a terrorist attack. Fact is Israel is 100% retaliating, and innocent people are dying. So when you want to get to the heart of this, we want to make sure that Israel is a sovereign state. It can do what it wants, and it should defend itself. But also realize that that Palestine is not completely at fault here, and that's what I hate to see. Because now you're seeing on the news once again, oh, there's a Palestinian flag out in front of a representative's office. Just because there's a Palestinian flag doesn't mean that they're for terrorism, and we need to really cut through that, and make sure people understand that.
Right. Omar, she's been a Democrat. She's been part of the congressional district up there. I can't remember. She's from California, I believe.
Who?
Omar.
Oh no, she's from Minnesota.
Minnesota. That's right. That's right.
Yep.
God, I had that completely off. But anyhow, she's been there for a long time, and she's been an advocate for Palestinian causes for as long as she's been there. So, again,
and there's a lot more that we didn't dig into either, Kevin.
Right.
That I really don't want to go too deep into because I'm again a history guy. I don't want to bore people and dig into that. But there's so much context. There's so many moving parts that I want people to understand, to do some research and to dig in, rather than just take whatever they're seeing as the truth. Do a little research here. Google up the Palestinian, Hamas, Israel, and you'll see kind of what's going on, and it's awful. Actually, it's really, really bad, because you've got innocent people dying on both sides, and it's this is not what you want to see at all,
Right, right.
in any shape or form.
So to build on what you just were talking about, we have to guard ourselves against misinformation. Elon Musk is under a lot of scrutiny right now because the amount of disinformation that's coming out on X has gone up over 700% in just the last few days, and particularly around the Palestinian-Israeli issue that's going on right now, the war that's been that's happening. And so we have to be very careful about the misinformation, and we have to know about where we're getting our source from. We at this point, we really have to trust our government, and our government is giving us the right information.
Oh yeah,
But,
I retweeted out something, or re-X'd, whatever it's called,
yeah,
something from President Biden, because he encapsulated exactly how I feel.
right,
And I'll read it. I'll read it out here for everybody to hear, because it was pretty poignant and pretty simple. And it's kind of where I'm at too when somebody asks me. There is no justification for terrorism.
exactly,
Hamas does not stand for the Palestinian people's equal right to dignity and self-determination. Duh. They use Palestinian civilians as human shields. Absolutely, they do. And offer nothing but terror and bloodshed with no regard for who pays the price. That is 100% true. So, as much as I don't always get along or agree with our president, with some of the policies, he is right on this, and that's what we need to take in
right,
to this. Realize that is the bigger picture, because you're going to have politicians on really both sides that are going to focus on either one. Or, let's be honest, Israel is a huge ally of the United States, so it makes political sense to be behind them. And sure, of course, once again, you're talking about an ally, but you have to look at the bigger picture and understand that it's not just as black and white as some are trying to make it.
right. And there's again, misinformation that's coming out of our Congress is just as bad as any of it. So yeah, we have to really pay attention to that, because there's a lot of people up there who want to use this politically to make points, clicks, make money, and
Attack. I mean, again, when you see a Palestinian flag, I've met many Palestinians who are excellent. To say that just one group of people is everything, to paint with that broad of a brush, is awful, and that is what is happening.
right.
So
And
you just got to be really careful.
but if we just go back to President George Bush, after 9/11, he had to come out and really be a very big advocate for Muslims and say, we are not going to ban Muslims. We are not going to attack Muslims in this country. We are going to embrace that there are Muslims in this country that are great people. So,
Exactly.
And they're our allies as well. So we have to be very careful with again, there's the misinformation that's going on. I was reading an article from 2017, not the Mueller report, but there's another report that's out there about the misinformation and how Russia is really got an entire army of people who are on the internet throwing misinformation throughout the United States every single day. And that's one of the groups that is under scrutiny with X, because they've allowed that group to get back active on X again. So
Right.
we're going to have to be very careful with what we listen to and where we get our information from. So let's move back just a little bit closer to home. There's a couple of more topics that I want to talk about, and we may not go the entire hour like we normally do on Coffee with the Democrats. We may cut this a little bit short to give, just because this was such a short notice for both of us to plan. But we do have to talk about the last legislative session. It ended back in, if I remember right, May, and then I think it was Sendai back then. But then we went into special session, and this special session just ended last week, and it was, in order to be really polite about it, it was a really crap show. It really did not accomplish anything. It spent a lot of the taxpayers' dollars. Again, I wanted you to give your firsthand account of what happened in that special session and your takeaways from what took place.
Well, I mean, you're where I'm at. I mean, we tried to explain to folks. We were like, okay, if there's no plan, okay, it's within your right, governor, to call a special session. Governors have done it before. If anything, they're becoming less and less special. They're becoming normal, which is not what you want to see. It shows dysfunction at the top. It shows a lack of leadership, not just through governor, but also the party in power. They can't get on the same page on things. And this was a perfect example of that, a perfect example of that. You have the governor saying, okay, let's talk about maybe looking at, it was very sharp. If people don't know what you do with a special session, there's a call within that, and you have to stick with that call. You can't, expect that other bills about something else would pass. Although you'll see, even with us Democrats, we tried to author some bills as well that fell into that tax reform bucket, I guess you could say, especially when it comes to eliminating the grocery tax.
The grocery.
There's broad, just everybody believes that needs to happen, even here at the Capitol, and even the governor. It's just that now there's some folks in the Senate that are just like, we don't want to really touch tax reform, because they remember back, and it's good to hear this, that they do. They remember back to where, even when I got elected in 2017, we were in a 1.6 billion dollar budget hole from tax issues, from tax cuts, from the Fallon administration, even saying we don't want any federal monies or anything like that, and then making these cuts. So it's good to see that some folks are like, wait, well, we'll hold a second here. But it also goes to show you, were we surprised as Democrats that the pro tem decided to call sine die, which effectively kills the special session? No, because if you look at the infighting there, they invited the governor in to talk to their appropriations committee about what's your plan, and he literally just said no, ignored them, and had his own thing downstairs. And we were just like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, there's constitutional powers all over the place here. It sometimes seems to me that maybe Governor Stitt doesn't understand how all that works, which is okay. He's an outsider, he's not a political insider guy, but you have to have some of that knowledge, or at least be surrounded by people that do, so that you're not going to go into this having what happened happen. And so it shows a lack of leadership, a lack of negotiation skills, whatever else, that this wasn't communicated well. He certainly didn't. He talked to the House, and the House seemed to be okay with something, not what he had called for. But then the Senate was just like, no, you're not even communicating with us. We're not going to go further. And so that's what's happened. And it all really comes down to just politics. Once again, it's politicking. It really is. I don't know why Stitt would do this, because he's termed out. Except for the fact that maybe he just thinks it's politically expedient for something. But it's infighting. It's not even Democrat versus Republican. It's Republican versus Republican going at it. And it's one of the reasons why I preach political balance. When I talk to Republicans in our district, which is the majority still, they're like, okay, why am I going to elect you? You can't do anything. I was like, well, first of all, I do, because I make relationships. Second of all, because I can push back against the larger, behemoth that our government has become, because it's one party House, Senate, and governor. And even back in the day, back before you lived here, well before, Democrats had that same thing. And guess what? Corruption occurred.
Right.
When you don't have that balance and that pushback, then this is what happens, and this is what we're seeing. And I'd like to see the end of it by electing more Democrats. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, because you want that balance in the state.
Right. And having an extreme majority, just like you were talking about, it really does take, and it's such a large imbalance that you really don't have the give and take that you should have, or the accountability from one side saying, no, let's hold off. Let's talk about this. Let's put it back in committee. Let's have a further discussion about this, because the way it is right now, if the Republicans want it on the floor, they're just going to bring it right into the floor, and you get maybe 12 hours notice, maybe not even that much. That
it was brought up by the speaker, in his press conference after all this happened. He did pledge to trying to have more transparency when it comes to making sure that the rank and file see the budget, understand what the budget's all about, because in the past it's governor drops it, they don't even know what's up. Then you look at it, and then you just drag it out. The reason why it drug out so bad last session was because a very unpopular idea, these vouchers, these tax credit for private schools, it's not popular.
Right.
Yet there was still the very top that push, put all this pressure, and they had to go back and forth between different deals because it wasn't even popular on the other side of the aisle or us. So it does go to show you there that one party rule is ain't it.
Right. Well, and it was kind of heartening to know that we had so many Republicans from rural Oklahoma who said, no, we're going to kill this as much as we can, and they held it off for as long as they could. And then our next topic, we're going to talk about our favorite person at the superintendent's level in the school district. He pushed through something that was really ignorant, but it's getting him into lawsuits now. He's in a lot of trouble. But before we do that, let's talk about something fun. You had a 46th birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you. It actually was everything I wanted because, this job, Kevin, it's a lot of in your face. And so for my good times, I like to hang out with my family, kind of away from people and things like that. And that's exactly what we did. Robin asked me what I wanted, and I was like, I just want to just hang out.
Right. Yeah.
Put the phone away. I might make a tweet and then go. And I was able to do that. Plus, people don't know this about me because I don't come off that way, but I'm a huge sports fan, and my teams, they kind of keep me going. And so when OU beat Texas, my birthday always lands around that week. So my birthday wish is always that OU beats Texas. And it happened in an upset.
And
so already we kicked it into gear there. And then I'm a huge Atlanta Braves fan, have been since the 1980s. And if you're not keeping up with that series, they were in trouble. They were getting no hit the night before my birthday, and they somehow came back from a 4-0 deficit to win 5-4. So I already was going into my birthday just like, yeah. And then we just got to chill out, hang out. We watched the movie called The Creator, which I'm a big sci-fi guy. So I got everything I wanted without having a big, huge party. You see what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah. Well, that was a good, and sometimes the it doesn't have to be a big, event to have fun and to be able to sit back and really think about, what really matters in life. And, around your birthday, 46 is not a big birthday, but it
is for me because it matches my district 46.
Well, yeah, but it's
right.
one bigger than 45. And then, you've got a big birthday coming up at 50, but every birthday is just that it's just another day, but it's a day of reflection. It's a day for you to think about what is life meant to you and what has it done for you. And from my perspective, Jacob Rosecrants is a winner. He's a great guy. He's accomplished a great deal in life, a lot more than any of the rest of us have done. And so let's talk a little bit about Ryan Walters. This is not a favorite conversation to have. This is one of those conversations we would rather never have. But we've got a person who is grifting off the taxpayers, and he's really every single time he comes on, whether he says something good or starts his propaganda that he's so famous for, it just grates my, it's like fingernails on the chalkboard. It's like, would you just shut up? But, some of the things he says, I'm like, okay, we've been doing that for a long time, giving parents rights. We've been doing that all along. This is not a new concept. So thank you for saying the obvious, Captain Obvious. That was such, great news that we have parents' rights, and he's trying to make it sound like we don't have parents' rights, which we've always had parents' rights, and parents having the right of choice with their children on what the right things to do. And when my wife was in the school district, talking about, books that she didn't want our son to read, it was her prerogative to tell him, don't check out the book. It's very simple. It was parent choice. So what do you have to contribute to some of the nonsense that we're seeing? And I call it nonsense because it's just so far over the top. It's so blatant. It's not even rational at some points anymore.
Yeah, it's really not. I've taken an interesting tact. I am not a person who attacks people. You've met me.
Right.
It's not my go-to. I am looking for bridges to build and walls to break down. But at a certain point, you have to then kind of go on the offensive. And my offensive is a truth offensive, meaning when he puts out a bunch of bull honky about whatever it is, because most of everything that comes out of his mouth is absolutely it's either an absolute lie or gaslighting. Then I find it my job as people come to me, and especially in the education track, they trust me, and they should. I'm a former teacher. This is my passion. This is why I decided to run for office and come up here and have all this, come to the Capitol and have such a great time with it all. Um, that people need to understand the truth, and I've had some great conversations, even with some really kind of, I would say, far right conservative folks who agree that a lot of this isn't happening. They're proud of their public schools as well. But what we're having here, the main issue I see is this other. So basically, the kids in the inner cities, those are the other. The
Yeah.
kids, I'm talking like Tulsa or Oklahoma City Public Schools. Why do you think Tulsa was targeted? It's not because he hates the former superintendent who resigned to try to get rid of his targeting. If anything, she and he probably agree on more than they thought. I guess it just became a pissing match, if you will. But he did that because they're using the A to F scale. They're using, that's the school grading scale. They're using all these different things. This test and punish system. You'll hear me go on and on about it a lot. This corporate education reform system that is popular here in the United States. That's our education system. And what that really means is that I think back in the day with No Child Left Behind, it was meant to make sure that no children were left behind. But it definitely doesn't work that way. And all it has done is shown, the affluent school districts are doing great. The ones who need the most help, they get a lot of funding because they
Right.
need the most help. So you're talking about federal and state funds, but it's not enough. And because how do we know this? Well, I used to teach in one, and I can tell you right now, I don't think that the some of the suburban districts, some of the well-off affluent districts, have the same types of issues of the revolving door of teachers, of the revolving door of administrators. So good luck trying to get any kind of what to all of a sudden have a turnaround when we know, as a matter of fact, that poverty leads to not only lower test scores, but really all the issues that you're seeing here can be at least partially fixed by making sure the supports are there for the students. But now we've even vilified that. Yes, Superintendent Ryan Walters has even vilified that. Because now you've got, and he's in with Moms for Liberty, so I can talk about them being connected because they 100% are. They're very proud of that connection. But there you go. That's a group that's not looking to improve. That's a group that's looking to tear down.
Right.
And so I find it imperative to have the conversations, the pushback, even if it gets personal, against BS, especially when it comes to our public schools. What we need to be talking about here is not how to ward off Ryan Walters and his crazies from targeting schools that need more supports by saying they're failing. We need those supports, whatever that looks like. And we need a State Department of Education, the head of the State Department of Education, who's willing to find out what that means and then provide those things at the top of the State Department of Education, not rip, tear down, tear down, tear down. And don't get me wrong, guess what? I also don't like the public education system. I've made it very clear. But that doesn't mean I want to tear it down, defund it with vouchers or anything else like that. I want to see what's worked in other states. I want to see some of the cool stuff that is in some of those private schools, that maybe a play-based private school or something like that come into our public school sphere. I want to see some more of that. I don't want public dollars going to our public schools, but I'm sorry, our private schools, but I do want to see more of that kind of cooperation between the business community and our public schools, not to create a bunch more workers for the state, but to make sure that we're having a 21st century education, because I guarantee we're going to have to look at that and reform those things. But it doesn't mean that we need to further defund it with private school vouchers, which that's a whole nother thing we need to talk about right now, because we're starting to hear pushback from that passed last year, that it's not going the way they wanted to.
Right.
We
Right.
tried to tell, even on the floor. I know we're just the 20 Democrats who just always scream, but the things we scream about are absolutely truths, and we're wanting to make sure the Oklahoma taxpayer understands what it is that these tax dollars are going towards. And it landed on deaf ears, at least here, but hopefully Oklahomans are going to listen to people that at least know and don't look at the D or the R behind their name and realize that maybe something can be done. So when it really comes back down to Ryan Walters, he's a hindrance to progress.
Right.
So we can't talk about, oh, let's get our schools off the A to F, list, or move up, whatever, blah, 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 because it's already a fixed system. And instead of having, honestly, I'd love to see the end of the A to F school grading scale, or at least get rid of the letters, because, hey, perfect question, Kevin. What does F mean to you? I'm just going to say F. What does that mean right off the bat? Failure. And that's bullcrap. I taught in an F school every single time for my 6 years in Oklahoma City public schools. Those kids weren't failures. Those teachers weren't failures. Those administrators weren't failures. What was failure was not giving them the supports that they need, was not making sure that we had our highly educated teachers in those classrooms, because we weren't paying them even more to go there or to go to some suburban district. It was never enough. So we have people with great ideas that can push forward here, but we're always on the defensive. And especially once Ryan Walters was elected, it's gone to a whole nother level. These are very dark times in education. So I want people to understand that we're fighting through these dark times, but on the other side, let's not forget, after the dark ages, what we have? We had the Renaissance. We had enlightenment. And so that's what I'm hoping for as we battle through this. And I want people to understand that as a hopeful message, because it's real dark right now.
Yeah, those lawmakers that were playing the role in getting this, they're the first ones now to say, hey, look, this isn't what I voted for. This isn't what the plan was. And now they're finding out, and I don't try to use the word truth. I try to use the word facts, because facts are facts. Truth can be manipulated to whatever you want it to mean, but facts are harder to manipulate. And you were stating facts, and the facts were that it's, you can look at every state that's out there who's done this, whether it be Louisiana, whether it be Arizona. They're having major problems in all of those states where they have enacted this. Arkansas is going through the same dark ages that we're doing right now. Kelly, one of our Coffee with Democrat people that we have over there in Arkansas, they're shutting down schools. They're putting schools under a charter school who is failing and doing worse. So they're taking the public, it's
a bigger picture, Kevin. It's a bigger picture, because when it comes down to it, what do these people have to gain by ripping down our public schools? Again, I want to tear down and rebuild, make them look amazing for the 21st century with everything that entails.
Right.
I do not want to tear them down and then divert funds to private schools and then make all of that just a big thing, because what is that for? It's to make sure that parents think that these schools are failing, so they'll be more open to the idea of privatization or some other way of making money off our kids. That's what it's about. It's about making money off our kids. It is not about our kids. And so people need to realize that. And that goes beyond Democrat and Republican. And why do you think so many Republicans out in the rural area fought against these things for so long? It's because it has the ability over time to shut down their public schools in their small towns.
Right.
So we better see some pushback against this from the other side of the aisle, because right now it's silent. And because it's going to harm their public schools that are in their communities as well.
Yeah, we're seeing Governor Hobbs out in Arizona, who is attacking the same issue that you're talking about right now, and that is that, the people there's a massive amount of corruption and spending that's taking place in Arizona, and it's coming out of the privatization side of the world. It's not the public school districts that are having these issues; it's the grifters who are attaching themselves to private education, and using private education as a means to build their own stock portfolio, or even just pocket the money and run. So
absolutely, you see it day in and day out, and especially horrible when you have one party rule.
Yes.
I believe Arkansas is that same boat.
Yes,
we're in that same boat. And when you get somebody on that side that believes this is truly the way we're going to go, for whatever reason, there's some true believers out there that think this is going to help our kids learn. But for the most part, especially the people that are in operation here, which I really can't tell who's like the kingpin, it just seems like an open market for fraud.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So we got to push back against that, because these are taxpayer dollars going to things that I don't think taxpayers want their dollars to go to.
No, it's better to keep that money in public education where it is. And like you said, we can rebuild the public education system from within and not from without. Because once you're without, you can't it's going to be hard to get it back.
Exactly. Like repealing this tax credit, whatever that passed last session, it's not going to happen. We're not, I mean, can I run a bill to repeal it? Yeah, it's not going to pass.
Right.
So it's going to take at least a decade to try to push back against some of this stuff. But again, I am a true believer, and I'm an optimist that common sense will win out. And even the voters, especially once they see what's going on here, may be able to understand that, hey, you know what? Political balance is not a bad thing. And let's start pushing towards that.
Right. Exactly. That's correct. So really at this point, we've kind of come to the conclusion of the things that we wanted to talk about, unless there's other things that you want to bring up. I mean, I want to rehash a little bit about what happened on Saturday, because that was just an amazing day for Oklahoma Sooners. And as an OU grad, it was one of those days. I was in with the grandchildren in Illinois watching the game on my phone while we were going through the pumpkin patch, and so I missed a lot of it. But it just seems like, we were written off as Oklahoma, and I'm going to make a comparison. People are writing off Democrats just like people in ESPN were writing off Oklahoma. And I'm saying, don't do that. Democrats are rational people. They understand that they're in the minority right now. So they're not going to be making a lot of stupid statements and making a lot of stupid activities or actions in what they're doing. So, but they are going to fight back, and they're going to fight back in a vigorous manner, and they're going to do it in a thoughtful manner as well.
Well, and real quick, Kevin, too, I told you I love sports. So let me do some analogy real quick. So you're absolutely right that OU was written off. And the reason being is because if you look back, we were top of the game when it came to offense, right?
Right.
And then, of course, when Coach Riley decided to go to USC, that put us in a chaos. So to get somebody in who didn't have any head coaching experience, by the way, but who had a plan and who now has come in here, if you talk to his players, that's the key. Talk to the players. Right. They have bought into this guy and to his message and to the people he surrounds himself with. And it goes to show you that absolutely you can see success as long as there's a plan and people know what they're doing and they know how to get there. That's what we need to do as Democrats. And I think we are there. We always seem to be the ones, especially in these interim studies I go to, we're the ones that show up. We're the ones with the questions and doing stuff. Don't get me wrong. Some of my Republican colleagues are there too, but for the most part, it's us Democrats.
Right.
And because we're just trying to learn more. That's not a party thing. It shouldn't be a party thing.
No.
It feels like it's gotten that way to where like common sense is like, so no, that's not, we're going to believe that. But that's a great analogy. Absolutely it is, because, and we still have a long season. So we still have a long season here as Democrats in these red states. And as long as we keep focused on the plan, move forward constantly, and don't infight. There cannot be any infighting. And that's a lot of what I see. And I get it, because you got Democrats in the rural areas, you got Democrats in the suburban areas, you got Democrats in the inner cities, and they all have different kind of things going on. But we can't do that. We have to stay united, very much like the Democrats did in the speaker's race at the Capitol, which we didn't talk about that.
Right.
Once again, just pure and unadulterated lack of leadership at the top with the Republicans right now. Talking about DC.
Right.
There you go. Who looked like the common sense? Who looked like the ones that needed that had the plan, that were going to be like, okay, look, we're going to go forward here, instead of using talking points and whatever else for whatever's happening to the Republican Party right now. It's not our fault.
No, it's not our fault. No.
It's they need to kind of clean up what's going on. Otherwise, I think the voters really will wake up to this and be like, well, we're just out. We're just going to either check out. We may not vote for a Democrat, but we're going to check out, or maybe look into independent, whatever it is. Or maybe they'll start realizing to forget about the letter and talk to the person and see if that better reflects them. And I think that's where we need to get to.
Yes, and I think that's exactly where we need to go to. We need to stop looking at the letter in front of the name and get to know the person themselves. And I'm just going to, again, put a plug in. Anybody who lives in the 46th district and you think you might hate Jacob Rosecrants, you need to get to know him. because he's not that bad of a guy. He really is open and listens, and he'll listen to your complaints. If there is a way that he can come to common ground, he'll do it. Just speaking a little bit about what happened in Washington, isn't it ironic that Matt Gaetz, who was accusing the speaker, McCarthy, of working with the Democrats. So what did Matt Gaetz do? He went to the Democrats.
To the Democrats.
Yeah. And
he just common sense.
Yeah. he just walked right over into the Democratic camp and said, all right, let's vote this guy out together. Yeah. And he worked with the Democrats to get it accomplished. And it's
and then completely turned around and said, "Oh, those Democrats! Like,
oh yeah,
what they've done." It's so easy to see if you have critical thinking skills. And let's be honest,
yes,
we need to kind of build those back up. And I'm not going to blame our public schools, because I am going to blame those darn standardized tests that we focus on way too much, because now it's all about pass the test, pass the test.
Right.
You want to have more of a broad picture, because then you can be like, okay, look at the numbers in Congress. They're almost matched.
Right.
You're gonna have to work together.
Exactly.
So
and we got one other analogy to point to, and how education is really important. And it is that, let's put it, it's the football that is being kicked around right now is public education. And we go over to Arkansas and we look at what happened Saturday in Arkansas, where Sarah Huckabee Sanders goes out to the football field to really promote herself. And what does the fans say about her and her public education system? They boo her out of the stadium. Yeah. They absolutely had to boo her out of the stadium, and she walked away as a big disgrace. And there was part of me that was thinking, man, I'd hate to be her right now. And then there was another part of me that said she asked for everything she got. So there you go. Well, I'll tell you what, we can go ahead and bring this to a close, unless you have something else that you really want to bring up and talk about, whether it be more about the governor's tax reform or whatever. But, this is your time of the year. I greatly appreciate you. And once I get everything put together for us to have a picnic here at the house, we're going to invite you and Annie and Jared to come over, and Mary. She's been a great friend of ours for a long time as well. And I just tell you what, it surprised the heck out of me. And every time that I talk with my kids, is how open the Democrats are to people that are like myself, who are outsiders, to being able to come in and just, if we want to do something to help you guys, you're open to have that happen. Or if you want, if I need help, you're open to just come out and helping me as well. And that's something that we never ever thought would ever happen. And it's all because of what we're doing right now, and just having conversations on a little known program, a grassroots organization that we put together a year ago called Coffee with Democrats. And it's connecting blue dots across the nation. And we're going to continue to push that fight. So thanks so much for coming on and having this conversation with us, Jacob. Again, we love you, and we really hope that everything, we want all the best for you and your family, and for all the rest of the people that are working up there in the Capitol, whether it be Republicans or independents. We want everybody up there to be safe, and let's work together.
Absolutely. I have nothing more to add. Thank you so much for having me on. And again, as your state representative, reach out if you ever need anything. I'm right here.
All right. Thanks so much, Jacob. You have a great day, and we will, until the next time, we will sign off and ask everybody, please be safe. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.